All right, number one. Now, this is very poignant. Chris Scott was speaking post-game about system, Gaz.
From my end, I'm just so proud of, one, our players, but two, and importantly, the system that our assistant coaches, our development coaches, and everyone at Geelong has put in place to find a way under trying circumstances.
I reckon system and playing a role would have been a part of Scotty's theme during the week, and often you'll see coaches or hear coaches repeat that, especially after a positive performance. Saying that GWS have got high draft picks and have got a lot of talent in terms of drafting, etc., that's correct. But like our system, we rely on our people behind the scenes.
I did that game. They were. I understand exactly what he's saying, and in the end, it almost sucked the life out of the Giants because they couldn't go anywhere. Every time they looked up, they were stuck. They just couldn't move the footy, and in the end, they looked like they were totally bereft of any idea.
I saw a distinctive shift in Geelong, and we'll find this out in the next couple of weeks and whether it sits, but they played Mitch Duncan largely as a seventh defender. So they played, we were talking about soccer systems, They played 5 forwards, 6 mids, 7 backs for the entire game. Ooh. And they didn't want to go fast forward because they had an outnumbered forward line. So they were prepared to control the ball in the back half, kick mark, and then go forward. And they still were very effective when they did go there. Cameron had a gun game, but system and being able to play a role and being able to shift those gears is something Geelong have done very well under Chris Scott.
Yeah, you roll the dice. The matchup that champion is a bit hard from where we're watching, but it was Lachie Whitfield who'd take off and play the high half forward, and Duncan stays home and ends up having 20-something in the first half. Yeah,
well, and that can happen sometimes when they're the sixth defender, but they hadn't even...
And very quickly, I'll talk about this later. Sam de Koning is...
You're happy with him, aren't you?
There's a story there. And two debutants who were great, Cooper Stevens and Mitch Nevitt, that both played and looked like they're really capable.
That probably goes to... That's probably a little bit of a renovation or an addition to Geelong's house. So
nice.
We'll come back to that. Number 2... healthy competition for spots and internal rivalry in and around a game plan is crucial, and I think Fremantle have got that.
We've got something to play for in the season, so and I think our players understand our squad goes pretty deep after what happened on the weekend, during the week, so no one really wants to give up their spot in the team for any period of time because it makes you vulnerable.
It is an enormously powerful trait to have in an organisation when you are actually there's healthy competition for spots and you understand that you need to reach a level if you are going to have the opportunity to perform for your organisation. Once you get there, it takes you to a level that other clubs can't get to because it milks the best out of your people and out of the individual's talent. So that is why we see the best teams separate themselves from the also-rans in that particular period because they've got this competitiveness that drives from within.
It's all good in Fremantle town at the moment.
Oh, they're loving it. Number 3, Kysaiah Pickett and his performance in the first quarter really stood out for me. What a remarkable quarter of footy he played. That high forward position is one of the most difficult positions in the game to play. I think Melbourne have the best suite of high forwards. If you look at Neil Bullen, you look at Spargo, Pickett, you look at Sparrow, those guys that get all the way up the ground and they run back. They run as hard defensively as they do offensively. But Pickett, first quarter, 8 touches, 7 of them contested, 2 goals, 1. Finishes the game with 14. So he has 6 more touches for the rest of the game.
Yep.
Kicks 1 goal, and that's normal. But when you get your chance, you want to hit the scoreboard and you want to have high impact. That was fantastic. We saw Maurice Rioli do the same thing for Richmond in a 5-6 minute period. Laid a couple of tackles, set up a few goals, and that's a big win for Richmond. 4th is Charlie Curnow. What a fantastic story this bloke is this year. I think we forget sometimes the hard yards that some people go through to get to where they're at, and then when we're in the moment, we underrate, undervalue, we don't appreciate what we're actually in. And maybe with that Melbourne, we should really be appreciating Melbourne because it's not going to last forever, but they're awesome. Charlie Curnow's one of those for me. We've missed this bloke for a big chunk of footy. And it might maybe in his sweet spot due to injury, but he's actually come back a more mature person and player. he's come back. He's definitely come back a better, emotionally, mentally stable player, and we're seeing his best come to the fore. And my God, isn't it great? And he's settled down in the one, been able to settle down in the one position where his traits are coming to the fore.
He's gone goalless in the opening round. And he's gone 5-3-1, 5-2-3-6,
and he's on the end of some of Carlton's really good stoppage work, and now the last 2 weeks their transition stuff. But how exciting for Carlton fans to be able to see his best come through when there was all those, there was such high expectations of him as a young footballer, but now we're seeing his best. Lastly, and the fifth one is Ange Postecoglou, and obviously the success that he's had across a whole career, but now at Celtic and only days away from being able to secure that title. But he spoke about the joy of coaching, and I want to unpack that a little.
There are many ways you get rewards in this game for success, but none is greater than just seeing the joy it brings to other people, that you've contributed to something that makes people so joyous in every way, whether it's your own family or just, the people who support this football club. It's a cliche, but it is priceless. You can't equate that in anything else, but it gives you the best feeling, and ultimately that's always your biggest motivator. The other rewards are great that you get, but the stuff that remains in people's memories and you had an impact on are still the most precious.
That is reflections of a guy who has travelled the journey and gone through the ups and downs. He's had a lot of success, but I think when you start, you're still trying to prove yourself, whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, whether it's in a new job. You sort of go through this period where you're trying to prove yourself, and so it becomes about validation of self in this environment. He's reached the stage where he goes, well, I know that I'm a good coach. Now he's looking for something more than that. You need to be a part of something bigger than you, and to see him do that lap around, and I watched that vision where the Celtic guys went around their home stadium, and he's pumping his fist and he's clapping the crowd, and he's seeing the joy in them, from little 5-6-year-old kids to their grandfathers and grandmothers, and that sense of joy that he was talking about, it becomes self-fulfilling, because if you've got gratitude for the role and responsibility that you carry, then you're going to be driven by it as well. So I thought that was, and obviously what he's doing is amazing as well.